to The Spill, Season 3, Episode 2. In this episode, we'll be talking to a young lady who will be sharing with us her story about systemic lupus erythematosus. So please stay tuned for this episode. And thank you so much to our sponsor for sponsoring and supporting this episode of The Spill. To The Spill, and it is so good to have you on with me today.
Thank you, Trudy. It's been long awaited. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. The listeners and viewers should know that it took quite a bit of doing for Gina and I to get our schedules and our times linked so that we could do this episode of The Spill. But we're here.
We're here.
Right. Gina, I have you as a contact. I know you, and I have seen you share some of your health journey. And that's when I got really interested in talking to you and having you share with a wider audience some of the things that you have gone through. So our topic today is this very troublesome condition, systemic lupus erythematosus,
yes,
and SLE for simplicity.
Yes.
And you have had a journey with this disease. I want to know from you about that journey and how did you end up being diagnosed with systemic lupus?
Okay, well, it's been a journey, and I have not been so vocal about it until last year when I decided that, through the foundation, we decided that we're going to spread more awareness about lupus or SLE, like we call it. And so I started posting different flyers, even certain things that I went through, like different pictures of myself, the rashes, etc.
Yes. So that's what I noticed, some of your posts. And I realized that, you were dealing with this. And you mentioned the Lupus Foundation. So you're part of the...
I'm part of the Lupus Foundation. And it wasn't until probably last year as well that I said to one of the members, okay, this time you can add me to the group.
Okay.
Because I was not part of it until when I felt comfortable and I was ready to actually share my story, be part of them, etc.
So how did you get your diagnosis? You mentioned it took a while for you to get comfortable sharing, but how did you even know that this is what you were dealing with?
Okay, it has been a journey. And the first onset of symptoms that I had was in July of 2011.
Oh. So
it's been a while. And when I went to my doctor at the time, he told me that it seems that there's something going on with my immune system. That it seems to be, attacking itself, etc., based on the symptoms that I had. And even at the time, there was this other doctor, because I just had my daughter, and he said that it seems to be a bad case of calcium drain, because I was experiencing some severe joint pains, unexplained fevers, even some rashes on my skin at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's been a long journey, a lot of blood tests, a lot of x-rays. Yes.
So joint pain, fevers, rashes.
Yes, rashes.
So those were some of the symptoms.
Hair loss.
Hair loss. Okay. And as ladies, that is, something I think that concerns us a lot when if we start losing hair.
For me, I'm not too much concerned with hair. I consider it something that will grow back.
Okay.
For me, my tribute is in my skin. I love my skin.
Ah.
I love my skin.
So I guess the rashes
Yes. But
were an issue. Yes. So you said it was from 2011
2011.
when you started experiencing
Different symptoms.
these symptoms. And how long did it take to actually get that diagnosis
Okay, well,
given?
in 2018, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia because lupus is not something that you can just diagnose right away.
Okay.
It takes a lot of digging, like you say, digging. Because no two people experience lupus the same.
Right.
You understand? So lupus, because of what it does to your immune system, it tends to mimic the symptoms of other illnesses. So that makes it even more difficult to diagnose.
Right.
So I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia by my rheumatologist in St. Lucia. And then 2 years after that, because of the test that she did, she asked me to repeat it. And when I did it, I was diagnosed with lupus in 2020.
2020. So from onset of symptoms, you would say 2011 to a diagnosis in 2020.
2020.
9 years.
Yes.
So I would say, so that is quite a long journey to actually finding out
It is.
the true story.
Yes. And I was kind of skeptical into getting testing for, doing lupus testing. I was like still in a lot of denial, but I have a friend who died of lupus, Danica, and she was always encouraging, are you sure you don't have lupus? You should get tested. I'm like, no, I won't. Because I saw what happened to her and, that was. But then I had it done. A lot of testing, but yeah.
And Danica Ito, past student of mine as well, I remember her well, and I remember her battle as well. And I think maybe for what she went through, a lot of awareness was developed surrounding lupus.
Yes,
at that time.
Yes. And she has been, because of her battle and what she went through, she still has a true inspiration to many of us.
Yes.
Motivation to fight on.
And she had a very amazing spirit.
Yes.
That's what I will always remember about her. Very enthusiastic spirit. Gina, you received this diagnosis in 2020. How did your world change at that point? What was your experience like after diagnosis?
Well, even if I had the diagnosis, it took me some time still to accept it, like about 6 months. I redid some of the tests, but it's the same. I mean, life changes. There are certain things that I can no longer do. For example, you go on the beach and stay long hours in the sun because the sun exposure, activate rashes on your skin, the sunburns, etc.
Okay.
I don't wear makeup anymore. I'm lipstick.
So no makeup?
No makeup.
Okay.
Makeup. There are certain foods that I have to avoid because if you eat some of them, it tends to activate the immune system. Certain things like garlic.
Oh.
Yes, certain things like that. We try to avoid it as much as possible. And foods high in cholesterol. Okay. Because personally, lupus, we tend to be at risk for heart disease,
Okay.
Yes, so we have to make those dietary changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So dietary changes, and also in terms of behavior practices, you cannot do some of the things
that I want to do.
That you want to do.
Yes, and even the things that we wear, we have to sometimes cover most of our skin.
Okay.
Yes.
So sun exposure is an issue.
It's an issue.
Okay. So out of these things that have had to change, the diet, and I know that might be, very difficult, the behavior, what would you say is the most, life-altering for you, or the most restrictive for you personally? And I know everybody is different, but I want to know about, you.
I love garlic. It's the main ingredient in my salad.
Okay.
I still use it from time to time, but I don't overdo it,
Okay.
And I love the beach. I do.
Okay.
Yes, the seawater. But I don't go as often because I mean, we have to avoid it, So I have to. The sun especially.
So sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, I'm doing this because I don't want a flare of the disease. You have to kind of
True.
talk to yourself a lot to get those behavioral changes.
No. I mean, I have gotten into the practice, so it's not as hard for me as before.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So what then, in terms of moving forward? You have your diagnosis, you know some of the things you have to avoid, what triggers maybe flares of the disease. What is your strategy moving forward in terms of treatment and in terms of managing the disease?
Okay, everybody lives is different. For me, stress tends to be a major factor. If I'm under stress, my body tends to flare. And I feel when it's coming. So that signals me that I need to rest.
Okay.
Because even sometimes you feel that you're strong enough, you tend to overdo things. That's when you feel the burst of energy, you find all sorts of things to do, and then your body just comes crashing down, But then managing lupus, you rest, you take your medication as prescribed. That is important.
Okay.
As prescribed.
As prescribed.
As prescribed.
Okay.
You avoid the things that you have to avoid, and you should be fine. That's how I see it, but that's what works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about, you mentioned diet, what about exercise? Is there any special form of exercise that you must do, or should you stay active in managing the disease?
Okay, well, for me, as much as I would love to exercise because of the severe joint pains that I get in my hips and my back, I don't do as much because 5 out of 7 mornings in a week, I tend to wake up with paralysis from my waist down. So it takes me about like half an hour to get out of bed in the morning, sometimes an hour. Like my body it has to warm up itself before I could actually get moving. So exercising for me has been on the downside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about doctors' visits? How often do you have to do checks or tests?
Well, for me, in recent times, I've been to the doctor quite a few times in the past 2 months.
Okay.
But before that, when my body hasn't flared for about 7 months before this recent months. So I've gotten a good break, but I go because, I need maintenance medication.
Okay.
Yes, so that's when I go. And my blood tests, I only repeat them when my doctor asks me to repeat it. So she needs to check a certain level or my kidneys are functioning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Gina, you've been talking about flares, and I mentioned it with too. But for our viewers and our listeners, what is a lupus flare?
A lupus.
What is that?
Okay, when you hear the word flare, if somebody tells you they're having a lupus flare, you think of an attack. The body's immune system is attacking itself. So it's like, that's where we become sick, or we say ill at this point.
Okay.
When you say, like somebody say they have the flu, you say you're sick. But that's what it feels like, a flare-up. It tends to feel like the flu because that's what it feels like. Like when you get a severe flu, you get the fever. Some of us get fever.
Okay.
But I get fever. I get swollen joints, hurts muscles, flare up on your face.
Okay.
So that's what we mean. Like when it's active, then it's really on you.
Okay. And on the face, you mentioned that there's a
butterfly rash.
Butterfly rash, okay. And very visible, like if you're flaring, can people see that rash very clearly?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got it like 4 times during the COVID time, and I say thank God for the mask that we had to wear. It was a cover-up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you are flaring, how long does it last, or what does it take to get the flare to recede?
Well, it depends on how severe the flare is at the time.
Okay.
There are times when I get a flare-up that I have my pain maintenance medication. I take them at home. Sometimes if they don't work, I have to go to A&E. That's where they give you, the drugs to help you manage the pain.
Stronger drugs.
Call it a cocktail. That's what we call it. Because it's a mixture of pain medication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So lupus flares. So I guess you're going through life and you just really hope to not flare.
Well, If it happens, it happens. But we try. I try my best
Okay.
for it not to happen.
For it not to happen. Okay. Gina, you mentioned earlier about the Lupus Foundation. And I mean, I've heard a lot about the Lupus Foundation of Dominica. I've seen a lot of the work that is being done. I want to know a bit more for you in terms of support and going through this disease, the type of support system that you have and how important it is to have support to manage something like systemic lupus.
Well, the Lupus Foundation of Dominica has been very good to me. I think that was a great decision that I made to join the Lupus Foundation of Dominica. I mean, I knew some of the people outside of the foundation before who have encouraged me to join it, and I have formed some great friendship with them. We call ourselves Sisters in Lupus, Lupus Sisters, and they have been a great support. So we talk to each other, we encourage each other. Yeah. It's been very good with them. The support coming from the Lupus Foundation is very good.
Okay.
I mean, we hold meetings, we talk about our mental health, which is very important. Yes.
And outside of the foundation, have you, felt that level of support or understanding, I would say, from other people, family, friends, colleagues? Is it easy, or do you feel like it's easy for people to kind of understand some of what you're going through when you're going through?
Well, not all the time.
Okay.
I mean, people are not in your shoes, so they don't really understand. Because some people may look at you and say, "Oh, she's not sick," but they don't know what you're covering. But the support has been tremendous. My family has been a very good support to me, some of my coworkers, and even in my social circle as well.
Okay.
Yes. So, well, for those who know, because like I told you before, I have never really told people. Yes.
But now you're on
that
this
post in
field.
December, so now everybody will know. So.
Yes, and now you're on this field, so even more people will know.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's all about the awareness, so...
Okay. So, Gina, I want to take a short break. As we're speaking about awareness and support, Jolly's Pharmacy is actually organizing an event, a 5K walk on March 25th. And one of the causes that the walk is in support of is lupus. And the Lupus Foundation of Dominica is a partner in this endeavor. It's on March 25th. And I just want to encourage people, our viewers, if you're able to take part in the walk, $25 registration. So we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. And as we also recognize Jolly's and the 5K walk that's coming up March 25th in support of lupus and 2 other conditions. And we are back. I am here with Gina Elwin, and we're speaking about her journey with systemic lupus erythematosus, or SLE for short. The name Gina is a tongue twister.
Lupus for short?
Yes, lupus for short. But there are different forms of lupus. So, to be really specific, it's SLE. And, you've been sharing with me so nicely what you have gone through thus far. Gina, something very special about you is that you are in the medical field. So you actually work at one of the most popular labs, medical labs here in Dominica. And I'm sure, our local viewers maybe would have encountered you at the job.
Most likely.
In their past, you come to do testing and you meet Gina to take your blood. And a lot of people are afraid of that, by the way.
I know.
Yes. So how did that background of yours, working in a lab, how did that factor in when you were going through getting a diagnosis So when it came to testing and so on, did you, because you know about these things, where you're like, okay, I'll take this test, I won't do this test? Or how was that
No,
like?
actually, you'd be surprised when you heard about lupus. I heard about it through Danica, like I told you before. And then, sometimes you not know what some of the tests are for unless you really go searching and researching and researching. So that's what happened, And some of the tests I ended up doing on my own because I became very inquisitive after a while. So I started doing them on my own.
Okay.
Yeah, did them on my own, did my own research, and then I would take them to my doctor, the results to my doctor. Yes, so, testing for everybody is different.
Okay.
At Lafayette's lab, we offer antibody testing, so persons who experiencing symptoms for lupus, their doctors send them to the lab, but no two people experience the same symptoms. So different doctors may send you for different things. They may start off with a simple test like a CBC or ESR.
Okay.
The CBC is a complete blood count.
I was going to ask you.
The ESR tells the amount of inflammation you have in your body.
Okay.
So, they start off with these. They may send you for anti-nuclear antibody. Yeah, it's an antibody testing. They tell you, it gives you if your body is, let's just say, okay, if you have a positive ANE, they know that you have some immune system illness, a disease, disorder,
Okay.
So then that's where they take it from. They have a panel they test for various parts.
Okay.
Various parts of the immune system. So,
but there's no specific.
Test for lupus. There is a lupus anticoagulant who helps them to diagnose lupus, but there is no specific set test. For lupus.
And then, so I guess that's why it's sometimes difficult to diagnose as well, because there's no one determining test.
No.
Okay. So you specifically, what tests have you done?
I've done a lot.
I could guess.
I've done a lot of antibody testing. I've done a lot.
It's okay. So you've done antibody testing, the AN.
I've done ANA, I've done the double-stranded DNA, I've done the SSA, SSB, anti-SNP, lupus anticoagulant.
Okay.
I have done the anti-cardiolipin. I've done quite a few.
Okay.
Here and abroad.
And abroad as well. Okay. Okay. So if you're in Dominica and you want to do a test, a colleague takes your blood. How do you work that out at the lab?
Well, that's funny as it may seem. I don't like to get pricked.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, but sometimes I take it myself, or sometimes someone takes this blood sample for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, you can do it for yourself.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yes. All right. I just know, people who maybe have met you at the lab, they want to know, how are you like with taking your blood? So it's interesting that you don't like it.
No, I don't.
Okay. So, to the listeners who maybe will meet Gina at the lab, she herself doesn't like taking her blood. So you have something on her. So, okay, Gina. So we have a whole lot of tests that can be done. And I guess the doctor analyzing these test results will be the one to determine if it is lupus causing what is being seen.
Yes, so it's a combination of factors. It's your symptoms, your blood tests. I mean, there's x-rays we done. Some persons, they do biopsies for them as well.
Okay.
It depends on, like I said, what you display.
Okay.
So that's what the doctors will send you to do tests on, based on what you display, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So any symptom, because you mentioned that initially for you, it was the joint pain, the fevers, rash, but any symptoms that you maybe do not experience, but you've heard of other people with lupus experiencing?
Well, some persons with lupus, their kidneys are failing. I don't experience this at all.
Okay.
Other organs, some of them have heart issues.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
For me, it's practically my stomach. It was attacks my stomach.
Your stomach. Okay. So the digestive system. Okay. Okay. So quite a lot of organ problems possible.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So recently we've been hearing a lot more about lupus. Through the work of the foundation, yes, but also just in general, you might see somebody, raising funds for treatment for somebody with lupus. You're hearing a bit more about it. In your experience, both at the lab and just as a member of the Lupus Foundation, what have you noticed as it relates to lupus in Dominica specifically?
Well, not at the lab per se, but as a member of the Lupus Foundation, we have declared this year, 2023, as the year of lupus awareness. This is because we need people to know more about the condition, but we don't say we have lupus, so we've been diagnosed with lupus.
Okay.
So 2023, the year of awareness. I mean, Lupus Awareness Day is on May 10th. However, we've seen the increase in persons diagnosed with lupus, especially among younger people, that's high schoolers. I mean, a lot of people would not know they have lupus because their families don't want others to know that they're sick and what they're going through.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm not sure as to why we've seen so many increases lately. I'm not sure it's because, persons are more aware, more informed, but there's been quite a few increases of persons diagnosed with lupus.
And you mentioned younger people. What about in terms of sex, male or female?
Well, most of the people that I know are persons, females. You will rarely find males who are diagnosed. Well, not that we know of. I should say. Probably they are, and we don't know, but yeah.
The diagnosis, even worldwide, tends to be higher among women. And that is why I really wanted you on this spill. This is the spill. It's Women's Health Plus. We typically talk about women's health issues, and lupus, although it's not specific to women, but we notice a lot of women diagnosed. So, it's good to share this information, because a lot of our listeners, of course, women listeners. So, sharing that information with them. So, Gina, moving forward, if somebody is diagnosed with lupus, you were diagnosed 2020. So you have 2 years and some 3 years under your belt. What would you want somebody to know if they are freshly diagnosed with lupus? This has been presented to them as their diagnosis. What would you want them to know just based on what you have gone through?
Okay, well, basically, I just like them to know that you are not alone. And lupus is not a death sentence, but I don't see it as a death sentence. I consider it something that you grow through. Like you go through and grow through. It doesn't have to determine who you are. You understand? You're sick, yes, but you don't allow it to change who you are.
Okay. Is there anything you wish you had known when you were diagnosed? Yes, before.
Well, along the journey, I've changed my thinking, because before, I really thought it was going to kill me.
Okay.
Because of the symptoms that I was experiencing. Certain times it's hard, but we don't give up.
Okay.
We don't give up. Well, I've tried my best. I'm trying not to give up.
That's the best.
Some days are tougher than others, but at the end of the day, you take it step by step.
Okay.
And you do what you have to do.
Okay.
Don't overexert yourself.
And you mentioned earlier mental health support. How important is that, taking care of the mental health aspect?
You have to be strong mentally. Because if you're not, everything comes crashing down. My advice to them, if you cannot handle it, you seek a counselor.
Okay.
I have done so in the past, and it has been of great help. So persons who are newly diagnosed, if you need help, you could get a counselor to help you through it. At least until you've accepted your diagnosis.
And of course, the Lupus Foundation of Dominica is open to, people diagnosed joining the foundation as well.
Yes, they could contact us at the Lupus Foundation. Our president is Ms. Glorin Thomas.
Okay.
Yes, so they could contact us and they will speak to Glorin, and she'll give them the directives that they need to have.
Okay. Okay. So, Gina, we are just about wrapping up this interview with you. I mean, you have shared with us your journey with lupus. Is there anything you would like to say to our viewers, our listeners, as we close off? Anything, that is still lingering with you that you just want them to know about this disease as we close?
Well, practically, we've said everything. I mean, we've said everything.
Okay.
Well, lupus is not something you just, develop. I mean, it's believed to be inherited genetically. Well, we're not sure how sure that is, but, but there are answers. So those who are still seeking diagnosis, I just want to encourage you a little bit more. Don't give up. Your diagnosis will come. If not, then probably it's not lupus, but, it's a journey, but...
And there's something that happens too with awareness, like people start thinking, because they hear about it, oh, this is what I have. So as you just mentioned, if you're looking for, you have symptoms and you're seeking answers, it may not be lupus. So you just need to go through the process.
Well,
right?
that is true because, like I've said before earlier on, that lupus tends to mimic the symptoms of other diseases like fibromyalgia, connective tissue diseases, scleroderma, stuff like that. So, yes.
Yeah.
Even rheumatoid arthritis. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting you put that in at the end because every time, we have a discussion about a disease, people will message and say, it's that I think I have. So, yeah, so sometimes, it's good to put that little part at the end.
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Yes. Gina, thank you so much for sharing with us on this episode of The Spill, and thank you for agreeing to be my guest. It did take us some time to get together, but it was indeed my pleasure to have you as a guest. And I do wish that you continue in this fight with the same attitude that you have shown today, and continue to do the best as you go through life. As you said, diagnosed with lupus, but you don't have lupus. You're diagnosed with it, but you don't have it. So you're fighting.
Yes.
And to your lupus sisters, as well, I wish the same. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for viewing this episode of The Spill. Thank you to our guest for sharing with us her story on this episode. And thank you so much to our sponsor for continuing to support The Spill. Now, if you liked this episode, and I know you did, please make sure to share it so that your friends and family can look at it too. Remember, Women's Health Plus. Like, share, subscribe.